Hello, my name is Yogi Patel, and I am a Montessorian and a positive discipline trainer. I'm also an Adlerian. I've studied Adlerian psychology for the past 7 to 8 years, especially in the last 5 years more intensely. I've operated two AMI recognized Montessori schools, licensed for at one point 3 months to age 12 and later on from 18 months to age 12 with the very small program and working with infant toddler and other age groups just brought so much joy to me. Today we're going to be talking about building confidence and belonging in the first 3 years. So I want to thank again Childhood Potential Conference for hosting this amazing conference and inviting me again to speak on a topic that I can talk for hours about. So, welcome. Today, we're going to dive into ways to build confidence and belonging in the earliest years of our life. And we'll focus on practical strategies which are inspired by Adlerian psychology, positive discipline, and of course, Montessori. So, in this session, we'll explore practical ways to support a young child's social and emotional development. However, I want to challenge you to make sure that you are also following along because this is an experiential activity. Experiential for children invites them to have long-term learning capacity. It really helps them to deepen their knowledge. And I hope that this is true for you. How many of us attend seminars and presentations and we love everything about it? And then life happens 2, 3, 4 weeks later. We remember parts of it, bits of it, but then it kind of, all that time we spend in learning doesn't really all of that information doesn't come through. So I would like you to have a piece of paper, put me on pause, get a piece of paper, fold it in threes. In the first section, write down things I already know. She's talking about things I already know. In the middle, write down about things that you're hearing for the first time. And at the end, I want you to look at the right side, the third column, because you're going to have this trifold. On the third area, write down things that you really like and you wish you could implement and incorporate in your daily life. And at the end, we'll explore that area. Okay. So, again, we'll look at the strategies that strengthen confidence, independence, and a sense of belonging, all of which are key foundations for a healthy social development. We love our little babes and we know so much about it through variety of learning, may it be through books and videos and variety of things. And when I was raising my children, now they're 28 and 30, there was a lot of noise. It was a lot of information that pops up and comes our way. How do we manage all of that, right? In my case, I really now love creating little videos on my website. I put blog posts because I think now in a busier life and with lots of technology and things, we're able to get small glimpses or bits of pieces of information on the go. So on YouTube and elsewhere, you'll find me under Yogi Patel TTE. Yogi Patel Transformation Through Empowerment. And in the last slide, I'll have all that details. And I'm not going to talk about any of that anymore. So let's look at a variety of ways today that we can create that significance and belonging, especially from birth to age 3. So looking at confidence and significant a sense of belonging are foundational needs for children. As Alfred Adler, born in 1870, same time as Maria Montessori, same year, says everyone strives to feel significant. For young children, knowing they're valued members of their family or caregiving setting gives them the courage to explore the world. How powerful is that, right? And that significance when children or adults, when we don't feel that significance, or sense of belonging, what do we do? What do children do? We try to strive for it, or we try to achieve that. And we do that through various means. And we call it misbehavior in children. But how do children know to say, I really need this. I really want to be able to do this by myself, and you did it, but I'm nonverbal yet. I don't know how to speak. Or you don't understand what I'm trying to say, and I'm really upset inside. So let me articulate this for you. And it looks like, so sorry about that high pitch, but that's how they're going to tell us, or like, no, you don't understand. So I'm just going to bang my head or the toy, or wow, look at this sound, and I'm going to bang it. And my mom or papa or daddy, my guide, my teacher notices me when I do this, negative or positive. I get attention. Well, why not? I'll keep doing it. Or when we say things, we'll talk about the behaviors or four ways children show us what they want later on today. That's a little bit about significance and belonging for now. So let's look at about the space. So design the space to fit the child's needs. Montessori classrooms and homes, they're arranged through careful thoughtfulness so that everything is accessible, it's safe, and suited for the children's needs. It's the right size and to their abilities and development. And when children can reach their own materials and make independent choices, they feel a sense of ownership and belonging. So let's talk about this. So we really want our children to feel significance. We want them to feel belonging, but we really, let's say if we had an adult size chair everywhere, items everywhere, children would really still not feel that sense of belonging, the independence, like I belong, I can contribute to my level. And sometimes we might have a perception that when they're young, they shouldn't be doing a lot of things because they might get hurt or they're not ready for it. But like really by observing this young person and seeing what they're capable of, and through that communication, remember the order and structure are really, really important at this age. Just like adults, if our counters are, our desk is messy and we can't find anything, chances are we're not going to be able to find anything because it's chaotic and our brain feels like really triggered or overwhelmed. Children need order. They don't have concept of time. So young children need to have predictable things that happen. This happens, that happen. Of course, their nap times and sleep time and food times may vary a little bit. It's not like it's 3 o'clock and I'm now going to give you this food because the time says we're going to look at that internal clock of this young person. However, we're going to create this beautiful environment where children can, have the ability to move. Maybe the room that we have for this young baby, maybe they're still just, young. Maybe having that floor bed or space where they can rest and they know where this resting place is, and having this changing area that's predictable and they know this is where they are going to meet their needs of going from feeling wet to dry. Maybe this is exactly a place where maybe a rocking chair where I eat with my parent. Sometimes if we have the ability to breastfeed, we're definitely going to do that. And sometimes we can't make that, happen. And there are lots of amazing, nutritious way of doing that and supplementing. So that's not a terrible option because you're still with this young person and holding them and giving them emotional support. I remember friends of mine who couldn't breastfeed and felt so much guilt and shame about it, and I think I like to normalize it because that is the desire, and sometimes that doesn't happen. And what does happen is that nurturing that we give, I think that's more important, that gives the child this confidence. I am loved. I am cared for. I feel a sense of belonging. I have this warmth. I have a caregiver. And those who are able to breastfeed, it could also be challenging, right? It's not, it can be painful, and there are a lot of things that are associated with it. And sometimes we feel discouraged. but to know that we're doing our best, and when we are supporting this young person, long-term results will be there. Now let's talk about the space, the order. If they're crawling, having this space that's ample, right? Everything's not cluttery and close together and adult size and places where this young person, and we would never do that, but we forget. So I love to just, a girlfriend of my mother, he speaks about like, getting really down to the floor level where the child is and being able to see from that space. I know in my classrooms, I always made sure that, if I'm this young person, how would I get into this chair? Are my feet touching the ground? Or are the young person's feet, is this chair too high, too low? Is this table enough height distant for them to be able to move their hands or their hands up or right below? So those are the things that we can do through observation to confirm that we are really preparing this environment where there is freedom, there's limit, so sometimes we have to put a barrier at the stairs because we just can't have our young person, you know, s- um, going down the stairs because they're curious and they don't have the ability to make decisions yet. However, whenever it is possible for them to be able to make decisions, we're giving them those opportunities. So, Montessori and Adlerian approaches both emphasize nurturing and children's sense of the self worth through encouragement, right? So, Rudolf Dreikurs, an Adlerian psychologist, compared encouragement to water for a plant. How appropriate. And he said, it's essential for growth. Absolutely. Through small acts of trust and respect, we can reinforce a child's sense of contribution and capacity. So I like to look at this plant that you're looking at and imagine. So, these are some of the skills that are developing, and more fertilizer, water, sunlight they get, the tree keeps, having more leaves. And as the more leaves are coming up, which could be a new development or a new thing or phase, and this leaf might be curled up and just opening. And with sunlight and water on a daily basis, it opens. Sometimes it browns a little bit when, things are not met. However, it continues to open. So, looking at that and making sure that we're looking at this young person and understanding how much water they need, how much fertilizer they need, and all of that kind of stuff, metaphorically speaking. And I wanted to go back to talking about, we talked about those who crawl, and then we were talking about those who are walking and moving and shaking with the head first and just kind of taking off. They can also help us sit down and do fold laundry. Let's find all the towels. Let's find all of these other things. And remember, language is really important. So even when they're very young or as they're growing, we're constantly talking with them. Oh, I'm sorry you fell and you're feeling pain on your knee. What would make it better? Let's take a look. Oh, it looks like your skin's come off. Let's put a band-aid, let's clean it. But before we do that, do you need a hug? Oh, that's painful. I see that you're crying. The tears are coming up. I understand. And just validating what might be happening for them. Yeah. I remember being a mom and my first child was so going along and more, I think she was born an adult. And my second child was really very beautifully, like very capable. Now I look back, but I was sometimes exhausted. And when she would cry for things, I just really wanted to say, like, stop crying. And, in that moment, I had to like pull it back and say, those big tears are falling off your eyes, sweetheart. You need something, and I really need a hug too, baby. I'm just so tired. So it's not just one way, it's not constantly validating, but also letting them know we all have emotions. It's not just for young people. We tend to get frustrated. We tend to get upset. And it's okay for them to also. And we're going to keep talking about mistakes. It's my big topic. I was raised with mistakes, a little bit of confusion between mistakes and misstep. And mistake to me and misstep were anything that is seen by others as not correct was a mistake. Like I had to have shame, I had to apologize, or I had to do it better. But for young children, falling, is that a mistake? Obviously, who says I'm going to go fall down? Is it a mistake to spill water? Or is it a misstep? Who goes and says, I'm going to spill the glass of water? They're running and we say stop and they don't and something happens. It's a mistake because that inner drive is saying, go for it. I don't have, this young person doesn't have all the experience we do. They don't understand fear, danger, cause and effect yet. And even if they did, that subconsciously their desire to acquire all of this skill, hand-eye coordination, visual discrimination, it's all so much there that it just happens. So I hope this is really helpful for you. And some of this information is common sense, but sometimes being reminded helps us, get to that next level. So the quote here is by Maria Montessori, and she says the first aim of the prepared environment is, as far as it's possible, to render the growing child independence of the adult. How many of us want to make sure they're safe, everything's right, they do it well? I hope what we just talked about, mistake, helps. First thing we have to do is first show them how something works, right? So if we give them a butter knife and a banana and say here, chances are you're going to get all sort of stuff happen. However, if we take a knife and a banana and we show them how to slice it and long enough, like slowly and deliberately, over and over, they're watching without us saying anything. And then we get to like almost, you know, 3/4 way, and we say, "Would you like to have a turn?" And inviting them to go from that, you know, children are looking at exacting. They really are striving for doing things like adults, but look at that gap, right? So much experience versus new. So when they achieve that one slice, that's accomplishment. Wow. And we don't have to say anything. We don't have to tell them it's a great job. They're not doing it for us. They're doing it to acquire a skill. But that smile, that the way they look at us and the way we look at them, that's encouragement. That just tells them, wow, I've accomplished. Had I said, oh, wow, look at you, you sliced the banana, you did it just so beautifully. It becomes all about me and my pride, but it's the child's accomplishment. My excitement, my joy, my way of celebrating takes away sometimes of this young person's ability. Like, I've done this, and that's good enough. They don't need a cheerleader team that kind of celebrates every moment. I know we wanna get there. I wanna take photos all the time of all of these things and send it to the grandma, to grandparents and things like that too. But, like, just sort of kinda soaking in that moment and just letting the child have that moment of accomplishment is all I'm saying is really important. And Montessori's emphasis on prepared environment is to foster independence and security, giving children or a child the structure, space where they feel they belong and they can engage in purposeful activity. So, in this classroom, we have an environment that's laid out, right? We might have 3-month-olds to a certain age in one group. We might have another group, I know for sure 18 months to 2.5 or 3-year-olds are going to be in a to I, infants, a toddler environment. So just kind of gauging that in each state and each community, there are different laws and guidelines. So I don't want to muck that up for anyone, but let's look at the structured space, right? So there is structure as in there's order, there's child size, there's beauty, it's real, it's beautiful, it's porcelain, it's breakable. Sure, it's gonna break. And we're gonna say, freeze, we're gonna clean up. When something breaks, we're not gonna touch it. I will clean it up. And just giving these children the ability to know that they're safe, they're able to still contribute in a meaningful way. This is how we do things. And if something spills, we'll clean it up. There are some items that are available to clean up. So it doesn't feel like hopeless, helpless, like, oh, I've made a spill. I don't know what to do. There's always have to, right? So there's that always guidance and the safety, emotional safety, like I've someone's got my back. Not that the adult's hovering and telling me what to do, how to do it, when to do it. They're stepping back. They've shown me how to do something. I can independently function, and they're there if I need them. And the caregiver, my guide, my parent, is observing me from a distance. And if I get into trouble, they're going to be there to stop that behavior, or, that action that's dangerous for me. Maria Montessori may have said this, but I learned in my training that our job as caregivers or a parent is to be like a shepherd. We take our sheep up to graze on a hill, and our job is to sit back and watch enough to know that they're grazing and, the greens and the browns that are being consumed. And then when they get to that edge of the cliff, we intervene. We just bring it back. But that's our job, not to constantly say which part of the green to have and what and how, because it's available to them and it's for them. So in our home, creating this environment, and it doesn't have to mimic the school environment because that's what the school is for. So when we have items in our school and we have them in our home, they're not exciting anymore, right? So if I do this item at home, it loses its interest because at school, it's no longer of value to me. But in classrooms, the materials, the way they're laid out, the guide gives a lesson. This is how we do this. This is how we clean up. We can do the same at home. We're going to make dinner. Would you like to whisk this batter? This is how we're going to do it. Here, have a small bowl and have your own fork to, mix the batter. And I'm going to use this bowl, whatever it looks like. It's going to take time. Everything takes time. It takes sometimes more cleanup, but look at the results. Hand-eye coordination, visual discrimination, problem solving, critical thinking. So, I mean, I can go on and on, right? So we're definitely teaching lots of skills. So let's look at some techniques now. So positive discipline encourages us to see the best in children. So does Montessori, even when they make mistake. Like I said, what are mistakes actually? We should redefine this word and just really take a look at this word more critically and train our brains to see, not look at things in good or bad, right or wrong, but just look at it like, what is the lesson from it? Jane Nelson reminds us children do better when they feel better. Using positive discipline, we can create an environment of trust where children can communicate openly. And a key tool here is using curiosity questions, questions that invite children into problem solving. What does that mean? What am I talking about? I take the spoon, put it in the bowl, whisk it. Don't run. How many times did I tell you? Don't, don't go by the table, right? Eat with a spoon. Take this toy, whatever that might be. When we keep hearing that, or a child keeps hearing that, if I keep telling you what to do, how to do it, chances are we're going to have some thoughts, right, about this adult. Why are you keep telling me what to do? And my feeling might be irritation, or it might make me feel like discouraged or disappointed or whatever, or angry. A lot of different emotions might pop up for me because my adult is constantly telling me what to do, how to do it, or how to stay safe. And I might decide that I don't want to listen to this adult, or I'm going to do it anyway. You're not going to bust me around, right? So now we're getting into that four ways children show up. So maybe now children are going to do what we're telling them not to, or we're telling them to do something, and they're just going to engage in a behavior that's going to be required for them to get attention, like to get special service. And that's they're going to assume inadequacy because they want us, because they believe that when the adults are noticing me, that's when I'm, when I belong and I'm useful and excuse me. So what do we have to do? We have to have faith in our children. We can do invite them to do things for themselves. We could ask questions, what and have questions, and we can say, do you need to do? Remember last time? Ouch. What do we need to do? What are you going to do with the fork? Are you going to go round and round? Or are you going to go in like these waves? Whatever it might be. What and how questions. They're young, they're under 3 years of age. What happens when I ask you a question? How was your day today? What is your plan on getting some rest? What have you done to take care of yourself? What is the most beautiful thing you've seen today? What was the highlight of your afternoon or evening? What are you thinking? How are you feeling? What are you deciding to do to what I just said? Did I make you think? Or did I shut you down? So the brain literally just kind of shuts down when children are hearing, because they have to process the information we're giving them, right? They need to sort of make sense of what we're saying, and they don't know how to respond to us with all of these, don't do this, don't, sit down, eat here, eat your cereal, eat your breakfast, eat your bread. What are you going to eat first? Are you going to eat those little berries? Or are you going to, and if your children, how many of you have toddlers or infants, or, they just want to eat all their fruits first? Yep. So why are we putting the fruits before they eat their main meal? And they need fist size, right? So let's break it down. Let's put just enough food on their plate that's the size of their fist. I mean, that's all of it, that fruit, the vegetables, everything that we want them to eat. Let's put little pieces of it. Let's put those vegetables, if you eat meat, a little bit of meat, whatever the protein, it's on their plate, a little bit of everything. And then maybe make a game of it. How about if you eat this and then that and then that, and we keep going in circle? Or do you want to do it in different order? Let them have different ways of doing things. And then fruits are going to be for dessert. I'll give you fruits later. Would you like some more? Because when they finish the plate, instead of you have to eat everything on your plate, there is that distinction that invites them to feel safe, capable, contribution. I can contribute. I have say in this. I can have a choice. I can stir. I'm making this batter. I can help my adult, my parent, my caregiver slice something. How amazing. And sometimes children are picky. Chances are they're going to eat whatever they helped you make because they made it. I know mine didn't like a lot of things like eggplant and zucchini, but when they diced it, and if I didn't overcook it, because the mushy stuff and texture is a big thing for them. And for young children, we're going to make it mushy because that's what they eat. But what I mean is, as they're growing and they're able to chew and kind of knowing their preferences and inviting them to eat things that they will enjoy, we can have more success. I want you to either email or somehow let me know if any of this information is helpful, if you're going to try any of this in, in your home and how that works out. To let the child do as he likes when he has not yet developed any powers of control is to betray the idea of freedom. Dr. Maria Montessori. Montessori believed that freedom should be given within framework of responsibility. So this balance allows children to make choices safely, helping them to feel respected and valued. And these choices and decision making are also really big part of developing variety of skills. Maria Montessori emphasized giving children the freedom to make choices within a safe and structured framework, allowing children to choose activities, pick work or partners, or select their snacks, you know, different activities around the room, which instills a sense of autonomy and importance. Me do it, I do it. When children are guided to make choices and experience the natural consequences, cause and effect, they fill that cup all the way to the top and there is a spill. Or they're carrying something with enthusiasm and they're moving fast and it breaks or falls. What did they learn? They learn from their actions. For example, what I just said, when they're walking with this object and it falls and it's their favorite, and now they can't have it. They have to wait till next time. What did that teach this young child? Yes, there are tears. Yes, they're upset. And no, we cannot give them something to make up for it. And I don't mean it in this harsh way, but we sometimes things we need to make the pain go away, but one is not related to the other. This is where they're learning that they have this responsibility and significance within their community. I broke something and I won't have it and I have to wait. And also in young, it depends on how young they are, out of sight, out of mind. They're going to remember it for a while and they're going to be upset. But if you get the same thing again on like a different day, it's going to be a new item. It's not like, oh, that piece was gone and it's back again because of object permanent state. So I hope this information so far is helpful and that decision making, right? Would you like to today wear this dress or this dress? Or would you like to wear these socks or these which two pairs of socks? When they have 7 things to choose from, chances are that's going to be very difficult, like that overwhelm that happens. So limited choice that we are speaking about. In this case, Montessori believed in giving children opportunities to do things for themselves, right? We talked about that independence, even if it takes a little longer. As adults, we often step in quickly, but when we hold back, we're allowing children to build confidence in their abilities. And we might set up the environment so that they can reach what they need to do on their own, like having a small shelf for their belongings or a little table or a stepping stool to be able to reach uh, the sink, or having objects on the lower shelves that they can retrieve on their own. And I just wanted to have this video here that you looked at this young child. How capable are they? And they're under 3, they can do a lot of things by themselves, and at the same time, they're developing the skill and they can't do all of the things. So we have to really be mindful on our expectations of these young children. I was having a conversation with a friend over this podcast recording, and we were talking about, the expectations. We have parent education nights, and we talk about Montessori, and or a parent has placed their child in our school, and the first month this friend was saying she just really spends so much time on preliminary activities, basic activities that really help them develop skills. Maybe this is how we push in the chair, this is how we roll the rug, this is how we walk, or this is where the water is, whatever that will invite them, or this is how we blow our nose, this is um, where we move to for playtime. this is where we stand, or this is where we put our lunchbox. It could be because it's, birth to 3, there are a variety of ways we do this. So I don't wanna list everything, but you kinda get the idea. And, others, or sometimes it's frustrating for other adults and parents. Sometimes we hear at the parent education, like, you know, in this classroom, 18 months to 3-year-olds, there are these activities and this is how they move forward. And sometimes we, or in our classroom or at home, we want them to get to this development because they would really like it, or we think they're really capable, and then we give them something and they fail at it because they haven't had the prerequisite, the experience before. And then this child feels discouraged or not capable. That's not going to make them feel significance and belonging. And this, we're not saying that we want to protect our children from every challenge and opportunity, but they're mentally, emotionally, physically, just developmentally may not be ready for something. So we have to wait. We have to give them the opportunity to get there independently. So when they're developmentally ready, yeah, they're still going to be challenged because they're doing something for the first time, but they're not going to be stretched so much where there is super amount of stress and anxiety that's built for this young person, right? So, kind of showing them the small steps and building on it. So, not asking them to go from the first step to the fifth step, because the legs aren't that long, and maybe that's the metaphor that I'm trying to put out there. Give them small steps, like one step at a time. Let them climb, and then they will feel successful versus, "I don't ever wanna go from 1 to 4 step because it's so scary." So modeling respect and empathy. Montessori educators are trained to respect children as individuals. And we get into this education because we love children and we really spend meticulous amount of time observing children in our training. We learn about theory and practice, and we're prepared, and we prepare ourselves as adults when we get into a classroom. They use language that's encouraging to give children individual attention and model respectful behavior. And when we do that, this establishes a warm and respectful culture where children feel valued, they feel heard. We are going to meet children where they are, and we're going to have the patience to really observe rather than intervening before the time and giving them the tools, lessons, guidance, stepping back, stepping in an appropriate way. And children are taught conflict resolution skills to help them communicate and resolve issues with peer in a constructive way. I'm guilty, and many of us are, when we see one child hurt another, we just want to jump in. Dr. Montessori, I'm sorry, Dr. Montessori had talked about having guidelines like, control of error built into the classroom. And conflict resolution, control of error is cause and effect. Yes, we need to keep all the children safe. And we have these Department of Social Services that, we don't want one child to bite another. Who does? So when that happens, the teachers feel really terrible and parents feel terrible. No one wants to make that phone call. Yet that happens. And Dr. Jane Nelson talks about it and says, when that happens, we often go to the child that's injured and we're like, oh my gosh, what happened? And the child who's done the biting or, injury to others is like really shocked and they're crying. And then we often turn to them and say, don't do that. And we try to teach them a lesson in that moment. But what if we went to the child who did the biting and saying, hi, you must feel terrible. Can I give you a hug? I know it's a novel approach. And then we say to the other child, come, do you want to, the one who's done the biting saying, hey, would you like to come and make this other child feel better? Because they're hurt, they have an owie, but together now we're consoling this other child. And instead of like divide, there is now togetherness, and chances are that this biting incidents will be reduced. Because what happens if as a child who did the biting or hitting, now I've done it, it was spontaneous, I don't even know how I did it, but it seems like everyone's upset with me. for this thing, and I just feel so emotional and I'm stressed and overwhelmed. So next time I get stressed, do you think I'm going to say, "Oh, I'm going to calm down"? Chances are I'm going to do that again because when that happens, I'm like, I'm going to remember all this stress of the adults getting really upset with me. So maybe we can try this approach. I really would love to know how it goes because I think as well that I think the repair can be made for all the children, young children under 3 years of age. We use the word bullying quite often, but misbehaving child is a discouraged child. When someone is discouraged, like plant, they need water. When they're discouraged, they don't need a little bit of more fire put onto them, right? We know this mentally in our heart. We love all the children, but when our loved ones get injured or someone gets injured under our watch, we tend to want to take sides. And maybe we can try to see if we can try a different approach. Creating an emotionally safe environment means more than just physical comfort, right? It's about giving children consistency, giving them routines. Remember, no time concept. My mommy said yesterday that my grandma was at my house. How did that make sense? It doesn't to us, but to that child, it made perfect sense. They're trying to tell us, my grandma's coming to my house tomorrow. And it's about giving that routine and a gentle guidance. As Montessori noted, education that fosters peace allows children to feel safe and safe enough to take risk and try new things. When we set clear expectations, children feel secure and free to express themselves. How powerful indeed. So, a child who has become master of his acts through long and repeated exercises and who has been encouraged by the pleasant and interesting activity in which he has been engaged is a child filled with health and joy and remarkable for this calmness and discipline. It's like sort of all things put together there for us. So Montessori saw the value in cooperative activities, their activities that are individualized, some together, and peer learning, particularly through mixed age groups, working with other teachers, children about in our community, and helps with that acceptance and the unique contributions to the whole group. Some of the younger children are learning, but maybe someone who has repeated this information a little bit older, they're going to jump in and I help you. And sometimes it's so beautiful in the classrooms, right? We're sitting and observing, and you see this young person not too long ago was challenged in a particular area, is sitting there and they're working with their activity and they're watching this other child struggle, probably in the same area they struggled before. They are so in tune. They don't just get up and run every time to help another child. They keep working with their thing. They're just working with their materials. And out of nowhere, often they'll just stand up, calmly go up to that other person and say, "Can I show you?" Or they just go and start to show the other person. And it's the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. If the adult had gone and shown this young child how to do it, maybe it was seen as correction, like, "I didn't do it right." But when that other friend comes over, it's just truly a treasure, it's just powerful how they learn from mixing being nurtured, nurturing others, feeling leadership, capacity, capability. So let's keep going. So Montessori teachers use encouragement and focus on effort and instead of praise, like "great job," you know. Um, instead of saying that, they might say, "Hey, I see you worked so hard on that puzzle. It's finished. Maybe that's it." Or "How do you feel?" This kind of feedback helps children feel proud of their accomplishments, and sometimes not saying anything also makes them feel really capable. And it promotes that in centric motivation and self worth. which we want in our children, right? If I said, if your young child is an adult and, 25 years from now, what kind of skills and qualities would you like to see in them? Chances are you want them to be a problem solver, intrinsically motivated, like also resilient when things are going terribly wrong. They're able to stand up and move on. And one thing that I always told parents, and I like to share here, is that we have to invite our children in our home to have that emotional awareness or coping mechanism to do things without us. Because if they're just really attached to us and always learning from us or doing things with us, and they go to school for the first time, and we're not there to do things for them or to talk them through things, they're going to be overly challenged. So, giving that independence to that young person and flexibility, it helps them adapt to that new environment in a much easier way, or at least less traumatic because they're so attached to their parents. They're leaving their parents, and also that safety. Who will be there for me? Because my parent, my caregiver, has done everything for me. If I felt that person was right there, whereas I fell and sometimes I got up and I went and found my caregiver because they were in another room and they said, "Are you doing okay? Come here." So it just gives them like that window to like self-soothe. And if they didn't have that, they will learn it, not to worry, but it just takes a little while. And also respecting the development path. Montessori talks about that their own pace, allowing children to grow at their own pace. So 5 18-month-olds, they're not all going to be verbal at the same time or speaking the same way. It depends on their family, atmosphere, siblings, grandparents, media, if they're watching a lot of television or on the iPad, or they have interactions and development, right? How they're developing in different areas plays a role. So we can't hurry development and we can't predict the cause and effect, but we can just nurture, nurture, and nurture. And in due time, everyone learns to, unless there is a challenge or there is a developmental thing going on, every child learns to walk and read and do different things. And it's at their own time. That's the amazing part of children, the unpredictability. We don't know when they're going to walk, when they're going to crawl. They spontaneously surprise us when we give up and we think, oh goodness, they're never going to walk. There they are, running. All righty. So, how do we create, how do we help children on an everyday life? Well, we've talked about a lot of things. So, arranging furniture, shelves, and tools at their height, which includes low tables, small chairs, and accessible shelves. And that's school. At home, some of it is necessary, but you don't have to create an environment that's at school in our home. When children can independently access their belonging, they feel respected and they feel capable. So, set up areas of self dressing, hand washing, and toothbrushing with tools like step stools, low mirrors, and small little hairbrushes, and then showing them how to brush their hair. And adorably, just enjoy when they look at that little mirror and they explore their mouth and tongue and face and brushing hair. It's like the best gift that we can give our young person. And when they can manage their basic self-care task and gain confidence and sufficiency, it's just going to feel like I'm capable. Me do it. Allow choices, but within limits. Offer limited choices. Choose between two outfits, like I talked about, or snacks. Or are you going to eat the carrots first? Or are you going to eat your chicken or pasta? And empowering our children and respecting their individuality while maintaining a structured environment is really important. Creating a predictable daily schedule. There's going to be sometimes you're going to be running late. but we have to manage our schedule so that we're not constantly rushing every morning, excuse me, and display it. Just figure out like steps, maybe their pictures so children know what happens first, second, third, making sure that they have meal times on a regular basis with us in a certain way. I think most of us do that, but I just wanted to bring this to our kind of vision. Having routine invites a sense of security and helps children anticipate what's going to come next and what happened before. Like my grandmother, is going to come tomorrow or yesterday. Time concept is in there. Involving our children in tasks, slicing, chopping vegetables, maybe shredding with supervision, sweeping, giving them little dustbins to pick things up, picking grapes off the stem, having them slice the banana, depending on their age. Of course, we're not going to ask babies to do that, but we're going to talk to the babies. I'm going to change your diaper. Now I'm going to lay you down, or now I'm going to open the diaper. Is that feel better? Is the wetness going away? I'm going to, wipe, use a wipe. Oh, is it cold? Oh, is it wet? Whatever that might be. But we're letting the child know we're not just going to go and put them on the floor and change them, but we're going to include them through conversation. Montessori views meaningful work as essential for children to feel valued, contributing members of our household, our society, or classroom, preparing as they grow some art area. They love art at this age, they just love painting, they love gardening, they love exploring, like this image about the snail. So set up inviting spaces for them to explore and change the media, not all at once, but gradually. So sometimes changing the colors, showing them how to where to paint on the paper, and it'll avoid a lot of wall painting. Sometimes that happens. And also showing them where to clean up. We're going to take this brush and we're going to put it under the running water. This is how we clean it. So they can actually see the whole process, the cause and effect, and pennies are dropping for them. And grace and courtesy, the polite language and respectful interactions, please and thank you. It invites children to use that care of self, care of others. Let me show you how to blow your nose. You sliced a banana. Would you like to ask others if they would like to have the piece of this banana? And encourage problem solving. Let your children attempt new tasks independently and observe what happens. Yeah, there are going to be some things that are going to happen and see how they react to it. Are they problem solving? And if they need help, they're going to come to us. But if we're right there, they're going to come to us. If we're just a little bit away, chances are they're going to try to figure it out. That problem solving skills builds confidence, resilience, critical thinking, and the real materials invites more ability, more an invitation to interact. If it's plastic and junky, like, oh, I don't care. But when it's beautiful, it's like, oh, I really want to touch that, and I'm going to take a look at that. And their pace. They're not going to go at our own pace. So in the morning, they're not going to get dressed, or when we want them to do things, they're not going to sort of do it on our timeline. So just making that time and giving them time to say, now we're going to go to the car, and they're not ready to transition. We can sing, we can jump, we can give them choices, and celebrate the efforts. It doesn't have to be a praise, but just notice, just enjoy, and acknowledge the hard work, right? Acknowledge, like, how did you feel? Wow, the puzzle's finished. What next? And teach children to tidy up more often than not. Like when they have one item, they're played with it. Let's help them clean it up before they take something else out. Because when there is that external overwhelm, chances are there is internal overwhelm, and they're going to be really upset. And giving them time where they can just be by themselves, read a book, or sit somewhere calmly. We can also help them learn about self regulation, right? There's these books that you can read. You can look at this plant. You can water the plants. You can clean the leaves. When I feel upset, this is what I do. What would you like to do? It's okay. Do you want to breathe? Let's blow the candles, or let's breathe in and out slowly. We should have to teach our children some of the self regulation techniques that'll invite them to independently function. Opportunities, incorporating nature activities are also very, very important because they can observe insects when they're walking. They're noticing things at their height level versus when they're in the stroller or when we're carrying them, and inviting them to observe, and we to observe them and look at the opportunities with peer interactions. When we say they're shy, chances are now they're going to be shy. So maybe just letting them try relationships with others, maybe if they're pulling back, let's just wait and see because other child might bring them in, because maybe they don't feel safe yet. They don't know what this interaction will look like. So we've been talking a lot about a lot of things. So building confidence and belonging can be as simple as showing trust and offering choices that suits your child's needs and ability. Love this conversation with you, and I hope this was helpful for you. We just want to give them the ability to feel satisfaction within for their abilities. So let's take a look. Let's just take a moment to apply what we've discussed today. What's a small change you would like to, make to support your child's confidence and belonging this week? Remember, this adjustment don't have to be big. Sometimes it's the small, consistent acts that can make the most difference. Consider writing down a goal or practice you'd like to try this week, and whether it's allowing more choice, giving encouragement, or setting a consistent routine. And how are you going to deal with mistakes you or your child makes and see them as opportunities? What are some things you want to implement next week, next month? Thank you for joining me. And join me for my online sessions. I'm at Yogi Patel, TTE, which stands for Yogi Patel Transformation Through Empowerment. You can see the link here. And I want to hear from you. I really do. I want you to tell me how things are going for you. And let me know which topics were most helpful for you. Contact me if your school needs a training. I have a little bit of information here. So if you're interested in bringing me to your school for Montessori, positive discipline, leadership training, community building, I'd love to help. I'd love to connect with you. Email me yogi at yogipatel.com, or listen to the podcasts, videos, whatever helps you, and blogs that I post on a regular basis. I'm Yogi Patel. I would love to have you know that this journey is not finished. There are so many amazing speakers that are going to be spreading their knowledge with you. And I hope that you enjoy the Childhood Potential Conference immensely. Thank you for your time, and thank you for listening till the end. Have a good experience taking care of the little ones. Bye for now.